The drama surrounding Oleksandr Usyk has never been about cheap trash talk or shallow bravado. It has always been about something deeper, something more primal, something that resonates with the essence of boxing itself. Usyk, the Ukrainian warrior, is not just a man who steps into the ring to earn belts or to cement his name in record books. He is a force of nature, a storm that builds quietly before tearing apart everything in its path. And time after time, those who dared to disrespect him, those cocky rats who believed arrogance could conquer greatness, paid the price inside the squared circle. They laughed, they taunted, they provoked, but the moment the bell rang, Usyk taught them the kind of brutal lessons that only his fists could deliver. This is the story of how one man crushed the pride of those who thought they could belittle him, and how, in the process, he built one of the most legendary careers the sport has ever seen. In 2018, a certain man stepped forward who believed he had what it took to stop Usyk. Bellew, a fighter with a reputation for toughness, entered the arena with a dangerous mix of confidence and delusion. Blinded by past successes, Bellew convinced himself that he had the one weapon Usyk could not withstand: power. "I have the punch that can switch his lights off in the blink of an eye," Bellew boasted, his voice dripping with disdain. But arrogance has always been a dangerous mask to wear, and for Bellew, it was one that would eventually shatter under the weight of Usyk's precision. The fight began with Bellew smiling, taunting, and trying to unsettle Usyk. His smirk never left his face as he danced around the ring, certain that his strength and swagger would carry him through. For a few fleeting moments, it seemed as though he could hang with the Ukrainian master, sneaking in punches, throwing feints, and letting his overconfidence shine. But what Bellew failed to understand was that Usyk is not a man who rushes blindly. He is a tactician, a strategist who dissects his opponents one move at a time. And so, slowly but surely, Usyk began to dismantle Bellew's confidence. His footwork cut off angles, his jab pierced through Bellew's guard, and his combinations started to land with increasing frequency. Bellew's smile persisted, but behind it, doubt began to creep in. Then came the moment that silenced everything, the kind of moment that defines careers and erases arrogance in an instant. With a devastating left hand, Usyk shattered Bellew's jaw and sent him crashing down to the canvas. The lights that Bellew had promised to switch off in Usyk's head were instead extinguished in his own. The fight was over, and with it, Bellew's delusions of superiority. Usyk had turned his arrogance into ashes. But Bellew was not the only man to disrespect the Ukrainian lion. In another bout, Usyk stood across from a younger, stronger challenger who believed time was on his side. This opponent, full of youthful bravado, spat insults in the build-up to the fight. "I'm younger. I'm stronger. I can't wait to put him to sleep," he declared. It was the same story told again and again: disrespect, arrogance, an underestimation of what Usyk truly brings into the ring. When the fight began, Usyk had no need for words. His fists spoke in a language no arrogance could withstand. Every punch landed with surgical precision, every movement reminded the challenger that there are levels to this sport, and Usyk operated on a level few could even comprehend. With each round, the young pretender was punished, his arrogance beaten out of him one punch at a time. And then, with lightning speed, Usyk delivered the final, devastating blow, a shot that detonated against his jaw and left him sprawled on the canvas, unconscious, broken, and humiliated. It wasn't just a victory. It was a statement. Usyk had become the first three-time undisputed champion in history, and he had done it by silencing yet another rat who dared to disrespect him. Of all the men who faced Usyk, perhaps none were hated as much as Marco Huck. In 2017, the German fighter took trash talk to new extremes, mocking not only Usyk but even insulting his family. For Usyk, this fight was no longer about belts or rankings, it was about honor. The insult to his mother crossed a line, and Huck was about to learn the consequences of poking a warrior whose pride and family stood at the core of his being. When the bell rang, Usyk wasted no time. He launched himself forward, fists flying, his eyes locked on the man who had dared to cross that sacred line. Huck, realizing he could not compete on skill alone, resorted to dirty tactics. Low blows, rabbit punches, anything to steal an advantage. But such cowardly moves only ignited Usyk's fury further. Round after round, the Ukrainian tore into Huck with relentless combinations. He switched angles, threw hooks and uppercuts from every direction, and smothered the German under a storm of punishment. By the later rounds, Huck was drowning, his body wilting under the relentless assault. And finally, it was only the referee who stepped in to stop what had become a one-sided demolition. Usyk had not only restored his family's honor, he had humiliated Huck, leaving him broken and beaten, exposed as nothing more than a rat gnawing at scraps. But the road didn't end there. In 2020, Usyk moved up to the heavyweight division, leaving behind a trail of destruction in the cruiserweight ranks. Waiting for him was Derek Chisora, a man as infamous for his antics outside the ring as his fights inside it. Chisora promised to give Usyk the fright of his life. He laughed, he taunted, he played the clown, but when the bell rang, all of that vanished under the weight of Usyk's brilliance. Usyk's punches cut through Chisora's defenses like a knife through butter. His footwork made the larger man stumble, and his speed overwhelmed him. Every round was a showcase of control, a masterclass in dismantling a bigger opponent without ever sacrificing precision. By the end, Chisora's bravado had evaporated. The clown act was over, and Usyk had sent him back to the circus from which he came. Even in his earliest professional days, Usyk faced disrespect. Veterans like Cesar David Kren believed the young Ukrainian would be easy prey. Kren mocked him, taunted him inside the ring, and tried to intimidate him. But that arrogance only sealed his fate. Usyk toyed with him, breaking him down piece by piece, before landing a devastating liver shot that shattered both body and spirit. Kren folded, and Usyk stood victorious once again, proving that no amount of experience or arrogance could stop him. Time after time, the story repeated itself. Arrogant opponents, cocky rats, disrespectful challengers, all of them fell the same way. Usyk didn't just beat them, he dismantled them, broke them, and punished them until there was nothing left but silence and humility. And in doing so, he carved his name into history as one of the greatest fighters of his era, a man who turned disrespect into destruction and arrogance into agony. This is the legacy of Oleksandr Usyk. Not just a champion, not just a fighter, but a man who punished every rat that dared to cross him, a warrior whose fists became instruments of justice inside the ring. And now the question falls to you. What do you think about Oleksandr Usyk's journey? Is he the greatest technician the sport has ever seen? Can anyone truly challenge him at this stage of his career?
Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into his legacy, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us as we continue to explore the stories of boxing's greatest warriors.